Hey everyone, how's it going? Aaron Rift here from NoDQ.com. I am being joined by NoDQ's author of Pain, David Payne, to talk about the NXT Takeover San Antonio show, the first NXT Takeover of 2017. What a way to kick off Royal Rumble weekend. Despite not having a lot of hype in the beginning, this show, as I expected, did deliver. It was a very solid show. What were your overall thoughts on this NXT Takeover show?
Yeah, it surprised me. Going into it on paper, it's kind of like when you look at your football roster before the season starts. Like, well, on paper they look good, but is it really gonna? And actually on paper it didn't. I wasn't thrilled. And then watching it, I'm like, oh, this isn't bad. You know, a little bit different twist on the women's match than I anticipated, but all in all, really entertaining show. And it also had some character development with the show.
And we also had a big angle on this show, which we'll get to in a few minutes here. Let's run through these matches. We'll start with the first match, which was Ty Dillinger, the Perfect 10, versus Eric Young. Of course, the crowd was doing the 10-10-10 for every single thing. Maybe WWE thought by putting him out there at the beginning, they would not do the 10 later on in the show, but they still did. The 10 was going on throughout the entire show. Mm-hmm. This was a good match. I mean, it was fairly predictable. I figured when we did the predictions that Sanity would play a role in this match, and of course they did. They attacked Dillinger when the referee wasn't looking, and they did play a role in the finish. Dillinger actually had the match won, but you had Sanity putting his foot on the ropes, and then Young was able to capitalize on that and hit his neck breaker finisher to pick up the win. So what were your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I like the match. And it makes me wonder though, because Eric Young seems like a guy who would be just about ready to be on WWE's main product. Ty Dillinger, I don't know. Is he going to be a resident NXT guy? That's kind of the way I'm seeing it. I don't know. I mean, once he goes to WWE, I think that 10 will burn its course. Mm-hmm. But for the NXT, I think he fits in there well, and I think it was a good match. And yeah, I like Eric Young, man. I think that dark character could definitely do well in a WWE program.
Yeah, they got a nice entrance. I like their entrance. And as far as Dillinger goes, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Royal Rumble, if he'll be number 10 or somebody else like The Miz will be number 10 to get the heel heat. WWE could capitalize on that and maybe have Dillinger be number 11 to throw everyone off. But we'll see if Dillinger ends up in the Rumble or not. I mean, it seems like an obvious thing to do to have him show up as number 10. He's been on a big losing streak, though. I mean, he hasn't really won a lot of matches in NXT at big events. When was the last time he won a match? I mean, it's been a while. Do you recall?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he's won since before he jobbed to Bobby Roode in Bobby Roode's first match. So I don't think he's won since then.
Yeah, it's probably been a good year or two since he's won a match on the big show.
Right, and that's why, he could be in the Rumble, which is, I could see that. But, I just think that if they were to put him in Raw or SmackDown, he would just get lost in the shuffle right now. So maybe be in the Rumble as a surprise thing, but then go back to NXT and do his thing.
Yeah, but that's kind of the hot thing right now. So, WWE may try to strike the iron when it's hot by bringing him up to the main roster. Now, I'm not sure if they'll do that if they're going to be bringing in Joe. And Joe was there. This leads me to the next segment. They showed Samoa Joe at ringside, but he did not play any role on this show. I'm expecting him to be at the Rumble as a surprise entrant. I mean, that seems to be an obvious way to debut him, but it was nice to see him on the show, making the event seem more important. And they also had Tyler Bate there, and the MMA guy. What's his name? The guy, I forgot his name now. And people are going to get on my case for this, but
I'm sorry, I saw Tyler Bate, but
he's doing the indie wrestling. He just he said he wants to retire Brock Lesnar.
Oh,
his name. I'm completely missing his name because
I have an excuse because I lit up before the show. But what's your excuse?
My excuse is I'm not familiar with him. So
okay,
people are going to say, Rift, what are you doing? This is your job. You should be knowing this stuff.
Well, it's so hard now. I mean, it's so branched out now. There's just so much to keep track of. I mean, there really is. I mean, with the big indie scene on, it's big on YouTube and stuff. And then you got the WWE. You got to watch every SmackDown, every Raw, then NXT, and then you got to try to fit TNA in there. So it's a lot. So he's up on the fella.
Yeah, he's an MMA guy too, and I don't follow any of that. So Yeah, he was there. Tyler Bate was there. Joe was there. Michael Hayes was there. A lot of big
Yeah, I
names
saw
at
Michael P.S.
ringside
Hayes there. Yep.
wearing his usual wacky outfit, which was cool.
Yeah.
So next up, we had Roderick Strong in his first NXT big event against Andrade Almas, and the crowd was very much behind Strong. They were chanting Roddy during the match. This was a very solid match. I mean, really nice debut for Roderick Strong. What were your thoughts on this match?
You stole the words. I was going to say very solid. Good for a debut. There wasn't any botches. You know, you couldn't ask for anything more, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean they hit a lot of cool moves in this match. Strong hit a backbreaker onto Almas from the top turnbuckle. That was a really cool spot.
That was sweet, man. Yeah, that was sweet.
And Strong ended up picking up the win with a running kick. And I think, from what I remember, he said something about going for the NXT title. So they may push him at some point as the next guy to feud with either Nakamura or Bobby Roode, depending on who's the champion in the next couple months.
Right.
So yeah, he's off to a strong start, you could say.
Yes, you could.
Next up, we had Do It Yourself defending the tag team titles against the Authors of Pain. This was a fun match. I mean, they really did have the dynamic of the smaller guys moving around using their speed and teamwork. I mean, where was Gorilla Monsoon when you needed him? Oh, by the way, Percy Watson. Oh my God, that guy is terrible. What do you think?
Why is he on there? I'm so glad you said that because I didn't want to critique the guy and bring him up if it wasn't a factor, but he doesn't add anything. He's worse than Otunga.
Would you say that Saxton, Otunga, and Percy Watson are all terrible?
Well, I don't want to go as far as saying that because I might get in some hot water. We live in a very sensitive world.
Wow,
now, Rip,
you did not take the bait there. I was hoping you'd say something to make yourself look bad, and you did not take the bait.
No, I mean I'm a little No, I see what
you're a smart guy. You didn't fall for it.
Well, it's called being PC, I suppose. But no, I mean seriously, it's nothing against them perfectly. And actually, you're getting used to Saxon, but I just don't like the dynamic of the whiny sticking up for the babyface announcer while he's got to get put in check, by
right.
Who am I thinking of here? I'm sorry. Who's Saxon's Raw, right? So
yeah, Saxon's on Raw, Tug on SmackDown, and
and I think they should just cut out both of them and have 2-man announce teams. That's what I'd say.
I totally agree on that, but. That to me that was the one negative of this show. I think it's a little bit of nitpicking, but to me, if I had to criticize anything on this show, I would say Percy Watson added nothing to it. We did have on the pre-show, we had Nigel McGuinness, and I wish he was doing the main show here. I'm kind of disappointed that he wasn't doing the main show. He would have been a good third man to have there.
Yeah, he would have been. He absolutely would have been. I would have liked that dynamic, and I think Tom Phillips and Corey Graves do just fine together. I didn't think there was really a need to force somebody third in there, so
exactly, could have just been the two of them. But I hope Nigel has a bigger role in NXT moving forward. It looks like they're starting to get him more involved beyond just doing the NXT tournament, which is cool. And we'll have to see if guys like Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne end up in NXT as well.
I hope so. Those are great wrestlers.
Yeah. So anyways, back to the tag team match here. Like I said, it had a good dynamic to it. Was actually I better than I expected. I mean, Authors of Pain, mixed feelings on them as an act. I mean, they're your typical, somebody on Twitter compared them to like 3-minute warning. That's
a stretch.
Yeah,
but
I mean they're just your typical big powerhouse wrestlers, and a
couple Brodus Clay lookalikes.
Yeah,
I thought,
or D'Lo Brown lookalikes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but anyways, they had these wacky costumes they came out with. Paul Ellering had a little bit of a issue pulling off one of the masks. Match, was good. They did a lot of cool spots. Ciampa and Gargano did a double spear from the apron. They were trying to work over and use their speed and quickness to take these guys down. DIY got double submissions on, but Razor, I think, is one of the guys. He powered out of it and slammed Gargano on Ciampa to break the other submission. Cool. That was a cool spot. And,
that got over.
Authors of Pain hit their double power bombs and then hit their finisher and won the tag team title. So I think we all predicted DIY to retain, if I recall, you, me, and Jeff.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty short reign for DIY.
It was, which leads me to believe, are they getting bumped up soon? You know, because they did the job and put over a heel tag team. They're obviously hot and over in NXT. Is it time to put them in a SmackDown situation and really add to that, roster? They're lacking, so they could use them.
And, the other thing, too, is earlier in the show, there was a promo, I think, during the pre-show with the Revival. So where do they fit into all this since they're a heel tag team?
That's true.
What's going to happen with them unless WWE does like a three-way with these teams at some point? That's also a possibility for WrestleMania. Maybe they'll do something like that. So, yeah, a little interesting that Authors of Pain won the titles, although I guess you could say they would really need it at this point. If they lost here, that would pretty much, be the end for them. They need something to keep their momentum going, to be
right. And plus, they got their moves their move set over. And what did you think about that finish? Do you like that? It's like toasting a bottles with somebody and then slamming them. I mean, that was interesting.
I thought it looked really good. And credit to Gargano and Ciampa for making those guys look like $1 million.
Oh, agreed. Because, typically I've never, even back in the 80s when that formula, those big tag teams, I was never a fan of those big guy tag teams, you know? And so I didn't expect too much going into this, but I thought they did everything right. The pace of it was right. They got over in the beginning, and then, DIY came back. And I love those guys. I think DIY is the best tag team in NXT, and I think they could be the best tag team in WWE possibly too. And look out for Johnny Wrestling. I'm telling you, as a singles competitor, I predicted it in a couple years, they'll have at least the IC strap.
Well, we'll be able to look back on this video and then see if your prediction comes true. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has potential, and both of them did a great job selling for these big monsters and making the monsters look like monsters. So they did their job very well. Next up, we had a big angle related to the main roster. We had Seth Rollins coming out and calling out Triple H. Triple H did come out, however, he also brought out his security, and Rollins tried to take out the security guys, but there's something like 6 or 7 of them, and eventually they were able to apprehend him and take him out of the building. I mean, I really like the angle. The only thing is Stone Cold would have been able to handle all those guys. So I don't know. I think Rollins...
Very true, but aren't those security guys, that's just a ploy. Most of those guys are like wrestlers in training, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of them we might end up seeing on NXT shows in a couple of years. You know how that works. I remember Bobby...
It's like with CM Punk.
Bobby Roode was a police officer. EC3 was a police officer in one segment. So yeah... but yeah, I thought it was a very good segment. Obviously, they needed something to get Rollins out of there, so eventually they all were able to get him out of the building. I would have rather just seen him take out everybody and Triple H like flee in a limo or something, and Rollins steal a car and drive after him. Something like from the Attitude Era. But whatever. I mean, it was still a very good segment to set up that. We'll see if there's any follow up at the Rumble if Rollins and Triple H have another encounter. And it did make sense for Rollins to show up there in Triple H's backyard, knowing Triple H would be there. I'm glad that they did that, because if he didn't show up, people would say, why, if Rollins wants Triple H so bad, he should have showed up at NXT. So yeah, I thought it was well done. I thought it was a good angle.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Now I just wonder if teasing that, is one of them still going to come out as a Rumble participant? I'm still saying Triple H is coming out, and something happens where Rollins cost him, and then he gets eliminated.
Yeah. Like I said, I like that idea a lot. The only thing, another thing I might have liked that somebody else suggested was when Triple H, does his usual intro. This is NXT in the middle of the ring. You could have had Rollins jump him there, and then all the security comes out and
that would have been better.
And the police actually handcuff him so he cannot fight back, and then they take him out just to make him look.
You're going to jail, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean. Like I said, Stone Cold would have beat up all those security guards. They should have had at least handcuffs or restraints or something. Just the fact that these 6 random guys could keep them down. Yeah, something like that. But anyways, it's nitpicking. I still thought it was a really good segment. Next up, we had the women's title match, the Fatal 4-Way, Asuka versus Billie Kay, Peyton Royce, and Nikki Cross for the women's title. This was a really short match, actually. I thought they would go a little bit longer. I've heard reports that their live event matches were not that good, so maybe they did this match and booked it a certain way, kept it a little bit short, just to hide the weaknesses of Billie Kay and Peyton Royce in particular. I think what they did worked well. You had the big moment where they were brawling on the outside and by the announcer table, and You had Kay and Royce doing the double suplex with Nikki Cross through the table. The crowd seemed more interested in seeing Asuka versus Nikki Cross. So maybe they can do that one-on-one match at some point. And they also had Ember Moon on the kickoff show talking about the match. So they got some options for the future here. So I do like the booking of this match since Nikki Cross was taken out of the equation, so she wasn't involved. You had Billie Kay and Peyton Royce working over Asuka. Asuka made her comeback, hit all of her crazy kicks, and pinned Royce to retain the women's title. So any other thoughts you'd like to add to this?
No, I mean, it kind of went as expected. I figured Kay and Royce would be the opportunistic ones and get their shots in. And again, as you alluded to, if they were doing house shows, live events, and it wasn't going smooth, then that would be the reason to maybe tweak this match and cut it a little bit short, not to show their weaknesses, as you said. But I figured Asuka would retain.
Right. Yeah, so
Not bad.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I mean, I still enjoyed what they did, even though it was a bit short. And finally, we had the main event, Nakamura versus Bobby Roode for the NXT title. Both had their epic entrances. I mean, Bobby Roode coming out, the crowd singing his song. The crowd was into both guys very much, chanting NXT, chanting for both guys, lots of dueling chants. Roode was not booed. I mean, he was over like a babyface in this match. They both were. The match was a lot of fun. It started off slow, but it built up, and this match told a really good story. I liked the storyline in the match, and Nakamura, he did what did he do? He did some kind of knee strike off the apron onto Bobby Roode, and he hurt his knee. So he was selling his knee, and then he hit the Kinshasa in the ring, and he started favoring his knee again, so he was unable to make the pinfall. Doctors came out, they were checking on him. Nakamura wanted to continue, and he got back in the ring, and then Roode, took advantage of the situation, hit the glorious DDT, got a near fall, and then Roode put on a half-leg crab submission, and Nakamura, like Steve Austin or John Cena, would refuse to give up, and Roode had to hit a second glorious DDT, and he captured the NXT World title from Nakamura. I like the storyline because Nakamura looked strong even in defeat by not giving up to the submission hold. I thought that was really well done. And Bobby Roode looked really happy to win the world title. So, I really enjoyed this a lot. What were your thoughts on the match?
Yeah, I was thoroughly amused with this match, and it's a smart Mark's dream when you think about it. I mean, any match with Nakamura in it really is. And just imagine next year at this time at WrestleMania with those two and those entrances, how over they would get on a WrestleMania stage. But I thought it was a great match, and that's the one underrated thing. If you look at a lot of performers now, not a lot sell pain anymore. And I thought Nakamura did a great job of keeping, selling that pain throughout the whole match and that becoming a factor. It's great storytelling. Bobby Roode's ready for the big show, if you ask me. He's so crisp and smooth. I'm a huge fan of his, and I always was. In him and AJ Styles for years I rooted for him. Like, why the hell are they in the Bush Leagues, man? They need to come over to the big dogs. And sure enough, they're taking the ball and running with it. So I was thoroughly amused. I didn't expect him to win, but I'm glad that he did, because he's super over right now.
Yeah, and they can definitely, as we talked about on the predictions show, they could definitely do a rematch at WrestleMania weekend for that NXT show. That's what I'm fully expecting, and that should be an awesome match. Nakamura did a good job selling when I'm getting all these people messaging me saying that they think he's legitimately hurt. I mean, that's how you know somebody's doing a good sell job. And people people think he's going to be in the Rumble. No, I mean, first of all, with the storyline, he's not going to show up at the Rumble hurt like that because that would take away from the severity of the injury. They're going to have the rematch in Orlando before either one of them get called up. And my guess is Nakamura will be the first one called up since he's been in NXT longer than Bobby Roode. They kind of just go in order from when the people came in. But really, ideally, both of them should be called up. But the problem is you need to have other guys to be the top stars, and these guys are carrying the NXT right now. They're carrying the brand in terms of the star power. So,
Plus, WWE needs to be very careful with Nakamura, in my opinion, because if they go ahead and give him some goofy sort of Kai-en-Tai sort of thing, it's going to kill him, So it needs to be the right time against the right opponent, and I think he'll get over. They just can't book him badly in WWE.
Yeah, and it's all about the timing too, and just bringing him in when there's a good spot for him to come in. Right now you got Joe coming in, and it's WrestleMania season. the guys that are already there right now are going to get the focus and all the attention. So it's best to just keep him and Rude, let their feud play out for a couple more months, and peak at WrestleMania, and then call up Nakamura and see where he goes in the main roster.
I agree.
So that's the NXT pay-per-view. Overall, really good show. I would definitely give it a thumbs up. Nothing really weak other than, I think, Percy Watson's commentary. One last thing to talk about before we sign off for tonight. We did our predictions video for the Rumble. They did add one more match, which is a 6 women's tag team match with Nikki Bella teaming up with Becky Lynch. And who's the other person she's teaming up with? I'm blanking here. I'm drawing.
Not Alexa Bliss.
No, Alexa Bliss is on the heel side with Natalya.
That's right, with Natalya. Yeah. You told me too. You sent me a message.
And Mickie James. Though that's
Mickie James. That's right. Yeah. Well, I picked the heel side to win. I don't know. I don't think Mickie James is going to lose in her comeback, sort of thing. So I picked the heel team to win on this one.
Yeah, that's what Jeff said. I asked him for his opinion, and he said the heel team. He thinks that Mickie will pick up the win over Becky to reestablish Mickie on the main roster. She did the whole interview on Talking Smack saying that everyone forgot about her. So, this is her first match back. She's got to prove a point. So, yeah, my guess is that Mickie will pick up the win. They did move this match to the pre-show, which is interesting.
So there's 3 matches on the pre-show now.
Yeah, there's 3 matches on the pre-show. I figured they were going to add more to the main card, but no. They at first they announced it as a regular pay-per-view match, and then they bumped it down to the pre-show, which is a little strange. Maybe AJ and Cena are going to go 45 minutes, and I'm hearing rumblings about that match that they're going to try to top Kenny Omega and Okada from.
They want to.
So those guys might get 45 minutes. They're going to try to have like one of the best matches in WWE history. So I'm really looking forward to this Rumble pay-per-view. I mean, this has the potential to be one of the best WWE pay-per-views in a very long time. If AJ and Cena deliver, if they're given 45 minutes, which it's looking like, the Rumble match is one of the most star-powered Rumble matches they've had in a very long time. This could be one of the best WWE pay-per-views in a very long period of time. I'm really looking forward to the show. And anything else you want to talk about before we sign off here?
No, I don't think so. But like you said, for the first time as a fan, I'm actually feeling, excited about watching a pay-per-view more than it being work. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So everyone watching, thank you for checking out this video. Follow David at Twitter at SmartMark420. We will be back tomorrow night